So operators give us the ability to manipulate values within our code, within the application. Those values could be stored in variables. They could be actual values, what we refer to as literal values. So an actual number, a string, some value that's already hard-coded into the application. Now, I don't recommend ever putting hard-coded values in an application. It's a maintenance nightmare. But the point here is that operators can act on variables or literal values. So 42 plus 3, using the addition operator, the plus sign, is going to give us 45. If we added two variables together that held those values, it's going to give us 45. There's a huge number of operators in PHP. Not to worry, they're all very intuitive in their use, and we've already seen two of them. The assignment operator, the single equal sign, says take this value and assign it to this variable. We've seen that. And we've also seen the string concatenation operator, which is the dot, the period, that says take this string and add it to this other string to make one big string. So we should start building some comfort level in operators as we review those that are available to us from PHP. So the first set of operators are the arithmetic operators from grade school: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. The one here that might not be familiar to everyone is the modulus operator. The modulus operator returns the remainder of some division. So in the example here, we have 57 divided by 10, or 57 modulus 10. What that says is 10 goes into 57 5 times and then leaves a remainder of 7. And so modulus returns to us that value, 7. What's left over after the division of 57 by 10. This can be very useful in different situations, and we'll see where those are. Some of the comparison operators. Now, pay particular attention here to the equals to operator. It is not the assignment operator. This is a very common logic mistake. If you're looking to test that two things are equal, then you would use the equal operator, which is the equal to operator. And this is going to return a true or a false based on the values that are being compared. If by mistake, and it is again a very common mistake, if by mistake, when trying to compare those two values, you used an equal sign, that's always going to return a true. Always. So you'll have a logic error, and based on my experience, you'll look at that error and you'll know something's wrong in your application, and you'll search for that error everywhere in the code. And after hours, the very last thing you'll recognize is that you used a single equal sign, the assignment operator, instead of the equal to operator. And then notice we can negate the equal operator with the bang, with the exclamation point. So exclamation point equals says it's not equal to this. So this is not equal to that. That returns a true. If it is equal, then it would return a false. Now, in contrast to that, the identical operators. What this says is not only are the values equal, but are the types equal. So is this an integer? Is that an integer? Are both of their values 1? In that case, identical would return a true. And notice again that identical is equals, equals, equals. 3 equals signs. And then again, we can negate that with the bang. And the other operators should be familiar to everyone: less than, greater than, less than, equal to. What's important to note here is that any of these operators, even the negative operators, the not equal to and the not identical, can be negated because we have a not operator. The bang, the exclamation point, is the not operator. So we could take two values and say, are they not equal? which would mean they're equal. So this can be, if not well documented and clearly written, the operators can get out of hand and become very confusing in the code, making the code very difficult to maintain. So the logical operators here, in addition to the not operator, the bang, allow us to combine different comparisons. So we can say, are these two values equal, and are these two values equal? Or we can say, are these two values equal, or are these two values equal? And then we could also say the more esoteric XOR, where only one value could be true or false, but not both. Unlike the OR operator, where if either or both of the comparisons returns true or false, depending on your comparison, the OR operator returns true. We'll see examples of these. So now there's shortcuts. Like every programming language, there are some very common things that we do. So those things, we need to give ourselves shortcuts for doing them. One of the very common things we do is that we add or subtract or multiply some value by some other value and then assign that result back to the variable that we're multiplying or adding or subtracting. So rather than writing out a equals a plus 2, we can just say a plus equals 2. And that's just shortcut. It's not a different operator. It's exactly the same operator as adding and assigning. It's just a shortcut. So if you're not comfortable with these yet, then don't worry about it, because you can do functionally identical things with just using the plus, minus, divide, multiply with the assignment operator without using the shortcut. One of the things that we do a lot, especially as we'll see in controlling loops, is adding a 1 to a value. And so there's a very short shortcut that we use for that. And again, we could just say, in this example, we could say my variable equals my variable plus 1. That would be identical in functionality. But we do this so often that we want a shortcut. So if we say my variable plus plus, that is the shortcut for saying my variable equals my variable plus 1. The alternative, obviously, is my variable plus equals 1. So even a shorter shortcut. Now, having the plus plus or the minus minus subtracts 1 from the variable. But having them at the end of the variable name says, hey, use the value that the variable currently has in whatever you're doing, and then add 1 to it or subtract 1 from it. But use the current value first. Putting the plus plus or the minus minus before the variable name says, hey, change the current value first. Either add or subtract 1 from the current value and then use it with whatever it is that you're doing. So these, again, these are shortcuts. If you're not comfortable with them right off the bat, it is not a big deal, because they mean exactly the same thing as saying my variable equals my variable plus 1, or my variable equals my variable minus 1. So these are, again, just shortcuts. So operator precedence, a fancy word for just saying, when will something happen? Well, the programming language, like PHP and like all programming languages, define an order in which the operators will execute. And this is the order. So the first thing that ever happens is the increment decrement operators, and then the negation operator, the bang, the not, and then the others in the list as you see them here. Now remember that precedence, the order that things execute in or will be evaluated in, can be overridden with parentheses. No matter what the defined order of precedence for an operator is within PHP, we can override that by the proper placement of parentheses. One of the common examples of this is What if you wanted to add 3 plus 4 and multiply it by 3? What would we do to ensure that 3 plus 4 times 3 would actually equal what we wanted it to equal? Because the way it's written right now, we're going to get 15. That may be the value that you wanted, but it may not be the value that you wanted. What I really wanted was the value to be 21. So I wanted to make sure that the 3 and the 4 get added first, then multiplied by 3. Because otherwise, the natural operator precedence will force the 3 and the 4 to multiply and then add the 3. So the 3 times 4 is 12, plus 3 would give us 15. That is remarkably different than the value that we were looking to get. We're actually looking to get the value 21. So again, by paying attention to precedence and overriding where we need to by placing parentheses, this will ensure that things are done in the order that we want rather than the order that's defined by the language.